Hi, my name is May, and I got top surgery in the middle of a pandemic. This is that story.
Italy has now surpassed China in the number of COVID-19-related deaths. The country has had more than 3,000 people die from the virus. Italy has been averaging more than 350 deaths per day since
now New York City is also considering it.
When I was 17, I started to realize that something was different about me. I had already come out to myself as queer, but it felt like something else was missing. I had always struggled with body image, but more and more I realized that there was an added element to my insecurities that I couldn't address with strategies like dieting or body positivity. I now understand that that missing piece is called gender dysphoria, or a feeling of distress resulting from the difference in a person's physical appearance and their gender identity. My body image was distorted because what I saw of myself didn't reflect my inner perceptions of what my body looked like. Instead of myself, every time I brushed my teeth or washed my face, I felt disconnected from the stranger in the mirror. It felt like I was constantly disassociating from my body since it wasn't actually mine. When I first started to realize what I was feeling, I tried to force myself to like my body. Because my body was female, I tried to be as feminine as possible to squash those feelings of masculinity inside of me. For some reason, femininity to me was best expressed in full 40s style makeup, hair, and clothes, so I tried to be a perfect housewife image to self-soothe the internal struggle I was feeling. I don't actually have a lot of pictures of myself from this time because I was so disconnected from the images of what was supposed to be me. I would judge myself based on how much or how little I met this standard and would constantly be putting myself down for not meeting my own internal expectations of what a woman should be. I practice what psychology calls body surveillance, or policing one's physical appearance because it does not conform to expected social norms. As Anita Mary McKinley puts it, research shows that when people pay attention to how others perceive them, they try to meet relevant standards and feel bad if those standards are not met and are even susceptible to influence by others. Thus, body surveillance is about control, not self-love. Another part of McKinley's idea of objectified body consciousness, or OBC, is the internalization of cultural body standards, which explains why I personally define womanhood as a very traditional American wartime image with curled hair and full makeup. The objective of ultimate femininity was never achievable, but I thought if I tried hard enough, I could reach that standard, become a woman, and crush these weird gender feelings that I had. But, of course, appearance control beliefs are an insufficient solution, creating the problem it wishes to solve. Instead of feeling soothed by my efforts to be more feminine, I simply grew more and more disappointed the greater I tried. As I continued to compare myself to others and my own internalized standards, I felt more and more body dissatisfaction, but I didn't have the education to explain to myself or to others why I didn't like my body. I was doing everything right, so why wasn't it working? The reason was that I was actually transgender. Although I wasn't aware of it at the time, my gender identity was not that of a woman, but of a non-binary person. That means I don't identify as either a man or a woman, but something outside of the typical binary. I've heard people describe non-binariness as a middle ground, an inclusiveness of all gender, or having an identity outside of the describable. It took me a while to figure it out, but when I thought about gender identity, I realized I didn't just experience femininity, but also masculinity and the messy in-betweens of both those categories. I realized that the reason I was uncomfortable with my body was because the outside didn't match my internal perception of who I was. I felt gender dysphoria about things like my voice pitch, my curves, my height, my chest. Originally, my discomfort was manageable, but over time it grew into an inescapable presence. The more comfortable I was with coming out and accepting myself, the more I realized that I was unhappy with pretending everything was the same as it was before. I could finally see myself clearly on the inside, but I wanted to show that side of myself to the world as well. So On March 14th, 2019, I came out. Hi, my name is May, and this is day 1 on T. Coming out is one of the scariest things you can ever do, and I've come out twice. Unfortunately, it doesn't get any less scary, especially if you were coming out as someone outside of the gender binary spectrum. When I came out, I already knew that I wanted to start transitioning. I had been in discussions with therapists, doctors, and other medical staff for over a year before I even told other people, just to make sure I knew what I was getting into. I knew one of the things that caused me the most dysphoria for me was my voice. Although it had never been high, I was an alto 3 in high school, it was still high enough that people could tell I was a girl as soon as I spoke. So I decided to come out the day that I was starting testosterone, killing 2 birds with 1 stone, and explaining the process I was going through. Although hormone therapy was a long and slow process, I enjoyed seeing all the changes my body was going through. Especially in those first few months, I felt like I was waking up to be a new person every single day. Within a day, my skin became rough as my pores stretched, and I suddenly stunk up a storm as my new sweat levels went off the charts. And I also struggled to contain the natural mood swings that come with hormone changes. Although I was thrilled to see so many changes, I was still dysphoric. I knew that having top surgery, or a double mastectomy, was vital to ensuring that I could truly look at my body in the mirror. So, in the middle of my graduate degree, and also while starting hormone therapy, I reached out to the health center to schedule top surgery. On October 1st, 2019, after long negotiations with my doctor, the insurance team, and confirmation with my surgeon, Dr. Scott Mosser, I was finally approved for surgery on March 19th of 2020. Everything was finally falling into place. And then, this happened.
San Francisco Mayor London Breed tweeting moments ago that effective at midnight, San Francisco will require people to stay home except for essential needs. She says that necessary government functions and essential stores will remain open. And this is called a shelter-in-place directive. And according to other local reports, surrounding counties making up the Bay Area will also be placed on this lockdown until April 7th. And this shelter-in-place directive falls just short of a full lockdown, which would forbid people to leave their homes without permission. It's unclear as of now how this would be enforced.
Like all things during the chaos of March, everything went into shutdown. Within a week, I had lost my driver to San Francisco, my hotel had been canceled, and I was left stranded. 2 days before my surgery, Dr. Mosser called to tell me that the city was going into lockdown and we would have to reschedule. I was absolutely devastated. Not exactly how I'd planned to spend my spring break. For almost a month, we had no idea when or if San Francisco was going to open up again. I got caught up in the chaos of a new quarter for school and the new pandemic life. Then, on April 28th, I got a phone call. I was approved by the city of San Francisco, and my top surgery was back on. In only a few weeks, I would be getting top surgery and be able to finally see my body, truly, for the first time. I stopped for some coffee at McDonald's because I'm falling asleep, but we are about halfway there, so a couple more hours, and then we'll be in San Francisco. Yay! My top surgery went really well. I was sleepy, tired, and sore, but I didn't even feel the need to take any major medication and mostly slept and watched TV. The one thing that was hard was that I was alone, so I had to do all the washing and the cleaning of my drains and had to slowly rebind myself when adjusting my dressings. I wanted to be a good patient, so I didn't actually take off my binder at all for several days. When I finally did, I was shocked. My body looked bruised and beaten up, and I wasn't happy with the way my incisions appeared. I wondered if I had made an irreversible mistake. It was only because I had been prepped by my surgeon's team that I knew that usually the surgery site looks way worse than it actually is, and it takes time for my body to heal and adjust from all the swelling. Each day got easier and easier to handle, but I grew really impatient of my dressings and wanted to get them off so I could itch at the skin underneath them. Finally, when a week had passed, I got my binder off and saw my incision site without bandages for the first time. When I first saw my body without a binder or dressings, I was incredibly confused. It looked weird and malformed, and I hated it. I felt like I had again been transplanted into someone else's body that wasn't mine. It felt wrong. I knew I was supposed to be patient and let myself get used to my new body, but I was conflicted. What if I had made a mistake? Wasn't I supposed to be immediately happy with my results? The thing was, I was in a new body. Mine. Because the transition had happened relatively fast, I wasn't able to properly process that the discomfort I was feeling was because I was actually seeing my body for the first time. It looked wrong because I've been feeling so much dysphoria all my life. I didn't understand how to look at my body without it. I was so wrapped up in the objectification of my body, I had to struggle to actually appreciate how beautiful it was. Unlike with testosterone, where I saw the changes happen slowly over a year, I had woken up and my entire form had been changed overnight. It took me a while to understand where all this confusion was coming from, but I think things really clicked for me when I first looked into the mirror after coming home. That person was me. Actually me. Imagine looking into the mirror and seeing yourself reflected back for the first time. It was mind-blowing, and still is. It's been almost 3 weeks since I've had top surgery, and I still feel overwhelmed every time I look at myself in the mirror. Every time I change my bandages and gently touch my newly formed scars, I know I made the right decision. For the first time in my life, I truly feel body satisfaction. I've had some people tell me that I shouldn't have gotten top surgery, that it would be a mistake or that I would regret it, but they're wrong. Just as research has shown, I am so much happier with what my body looks like today than what it did previously. Getting top surgery was essential to my mental health, my well-being, and my identity, as it helped me feel like I was finally real. Despite the pain, hardship, and chaos, I'm finally who I was meant to be.